There is no talk of seniority among the outcasts. The ancient laws of the pride, where birth order determines destiny, do not work there. Yet in Nuki's story, this moment is the key to understanding why he never became the man he could have been. A fact that's barely talked about. Nuka is Zira's eldest son. He came before Kovu, before Vitani. By all the natural laws of the savannah, he was the one who was to be the heir, the one being groomed for power, for leadership. If the Lion King followed the classic dynasty scheme, Nuka would be the eldest son. But something went wrong. The first scenes of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, show Nuka not as a pretender to the throne but as a pathetic, bumbling wannabe. His hair, which resembles Scar's mane, his envious glances at Kovu, and his clumsy attempts to interfere with Zira's plans all speak not only to his complex but also to an inner knowing. He wasn't chosen. He's not the one. But let's get this straight. Why did Kovu, the youngest, and in Zira's words, not Scar's blood son, become her hope? Why did the mother ignore her firstborn? All indications are that Nuka was initially cut out of the great equation of revenge and power. Let's imagine a different scenario. Suppose Zira decided otherwise. Suppose she saw Nuka as an opportunity, not a burden. She declared him heir, publicly and without reservation, taught him strategy, fostered dignity, and prepared him for a leadership role. From that point on, everything changed. Nuka gained the respect of outsiders not by seniority but by recognition. Kovu doesn't become the chosen one, but grows up as a younger brother, not a rival, but an associate. Zira builds her revenge plan not around replacing Scar but around her heir, and that's important. In such a system, Nuka becomes the successor to her line, not a mere weapon. It's a hypothesis, but it fits within the universe's rules. In The Lion King, inheritance works not by strength or rage but by combining biology and recognition. Mufasa prepared Simba not because he was stronger than others but because he was recognized. The Scar was not recognized, and he was excluded. Recognition shapes reality. And this is where Nuki's tragedy becomes apparent. His mother does not even recognize him. Even in scenes where Nuka tries to prove that he's good enough, Zira does not encourage or reassure him. She's focused on Kovu, his mission, and his purpose. And Nuka? He's running on his heels, teetering between envy and despair. He's like a shadow in a system where attention is currency. At one point, he complains, "Kovu, Kovu, Kovu, it's always Kovu." It's not just a grievance, it's the cry of someone who's been removed from the equation of fate. But he was the first. And if the birth order in the outsider world worked the same way it does in Pride Land, things would be different. But in Zira's world, the rules are different. It's not the line that matters there, it's the potential. And in Zira's eyes, Kovu had potential. Why? Because Kovu was handsome, stronger, and, most importantly, didn't remind. Nuka, on the other hand, was a reflection of her weakness. And therein lies the twist. If Zira had recognized Nuka initially, he might have been different. But even if she didn't, what if she had at least tried? What if Nuki's tragedy wasn't who he was but what he'd been made to be? What if all he needed was a chance, support, and belief in him? The strength of a leader is determined not only by his qualities but also by who is behind him. And while the first act of Nuki's tragedy is the unfair dismissal by the fact of birth, the second is that he was willfully ignored by his mother. Zira is a character whose image is held together by the idea of fanatical devotion to Scar. It doesn't just preserve his memory, it builds an entire ideology, cultivating a thirst for revenge in the exiles. And in this system, Nuki could have everything: motivation, background, and age. But the most important thing was missing: attention. Why did Zira bet on Kovu? The superficial answer seems obvious. Kovu is stronger, tougher, and calmer. He better fits the image of the new Scar, charismatic but driven. But if you dig deeper, it's clear. Zira wasn't looking for a son, she was looking for a tool. Kovu is handy. He is not born Scar, so his image can be constructed from scratch. It is easier to guide, program, and mold him into the hero of someone else's legend. It becomes a project. And Nuka is too alive, too real to fit into this scheme. He has fears, complexes, and insecurities. He requires love, not just tasks. He needs recognition, not instructions. And Zira couldn't handle it. Psychologically, Nuka is uncomfortable, and that's what makes him so tragic. He's not bad. He's inconvenient. What would have happened if she'd chosen differently? Let's say Zira saw Nuka not as a hindrance. What would she do? Teach him how to fight. Not through anger and despair, but through training and discipline. I'd give him a role. Even if it was small, it would be noticeable. Command patrols and negotiate with other exiles. Create a sense of mission in him. It would make him a symbol of Scar's continuation, not as a shadowy heir, but as a real, recognized contender. It would give Nuka a foothold. He wouldn't be looking for it in blind competition with Kovu. He would not go into battle to prove his worth at the cost of his death. He would know that his way was not to prove his worth but to do his duty. The psychology of a broken son. One of the movie's most powerful scenes is when Nuka finds himself under the rubble. His last words, "Look, Mom, I did it. It's not a victory." It attempts to prove his worth, if only before he dies. He didn't save Kovu, he didn't defeat Simba, he didn't protect Pride. He just wanted to be seen. If Zira had invested in him, this moment wouldn't have happened. Nuka wouldn't have attacked for approval. He would go because that's his role, as a leader and heir. And here comes the sharp contradiction. Zira, dreaming of avenging Scar, has herself repeated his path. Just as Mufasa did not recognize his brother, she did not recognize her son. She constructed a tragedy in which no love existed, only a task. Kovu is a product of his upbringing, but so was Nuka. The difference is that Kovu was raised with the future in mind, and Nuka was left on the back burner, waiting for him to prove himself worthy. It doesn't work like that, not even for lions. But if Nuka was so desperate to prove his worth, maybe he had a chance to achieve it after all? Could his moment still come? Transition. What if he almost became a hero? What if the very attack in which he gave everything could have ended differently? Every incredible journey begins with a twist that no one expected. For Nuka, that turn might have been a victory. Not hypothetical, but quite real. In the battle, that was a tragedy for him. Zira intends the scene where the outsiders attack Simba as a strategic maneuver. To divide the forces of Pride Land, trap the king, and eliminate him at the hands of his followers. But it's not just an attack, it's a chance. And Nuka realizes that. He sees that he may be at the center of things for the first time, not the back of them. What if the log hadn't collapsed? What if he, not Kovu, had been the face of victory? Possible outcome. Nuki wins. Let's imagine that Simba is trapped, but instead of being killed, he is captured. He was surrounded but not finished. Zira plans to use him as a hostage. Nuka is the one who organized the capture, held the position, avoided panic, and ensured the outcome. For outsiders, that would instantly make him a hero. In their eyes, he proved to be not just the eldest son, but a real leader. Not in words, but in deeds. The irony is that he almost pulled it off in the original scene. He showed initiative, physical strength, and a desire to act. It wasn't a stupid attack. It was his only opportunity to be seen. If it worked, he would be a figure to be reckoned with. Zira's reaction. An interesting question. How would Zira react? At first glance, she would be happy. Her plan worked, the enemy was defeated, and her son was a hero. But deeper down, the reaction isn't as obvious. Nuki's victory could break her control. He no longer needs her recognition. He's already significant. This destabilizes its role as the sole architect of the future. But with any development, she would be forced to recognize him. And that's a turning point. So for the first time in the history of outsiders, power is not handed down by Zira's plan, but shaped by action. How would the Pride react to that? Pridland is a territory of tradition. Though the exiles are still strangers to them, a Nuki would make them think twice, especially if it were strategic rather than bloody. Simba is captive but alive. The outsiders are organized. They have a leader, albeit an unexpected one. In this case, Nuka gets a unique position as a negotiator, not a zealot like Zira, not a tool like Kovu, and a real, unpredictable but capable leader. He can begin to speak for the outcasts, not from a position of vengeance but from a position of equality. This is already a different political field. It is essential to realize that lions, like humans, have strength, not only muscles. They are a symbol. If Nuka wins a battle where he should have died, he breaks his destiny. He becomes living proof that a place at the top doesn't always depend on other people's choices. Zira may continue to see him as an inconvenience. Kovu may continue to suffer from internal conflicts. But everyone else will start to see Nuka as a figure. Did he have the resources? Can we say that Nuki had the potential to lead? The answer is yes if there was motivation. He had a desire to prove his worth. A sense of deprivation that often pushes one to action. Instinctive bravery. He didn't run away when the fight started. Flexibility of thought. He didn't just attack. He tried to outmaneuver, outmaneuver, outmaneuver. These are traits not of a destroyer, but of a tactician. He was desperate, and desperation properly channeled can be the fuel for victory. The climax? Nuka is a leader but not a king. Even if he won, would he stand at the head of the Pride Parade? It's a complicated issue. Pride Land wouldn't accept it instantly. Outsiders might have split, but Nuka could be the leader of a new path. A bridge between the exiles and the Pride Lands. Someone who isn't perfect but has proven his right to be heard. That could have been enough. Because becoming king doesn't mean sitting on a rock. It means leading, and that day, he almost led. Sometimes, a hero is not the one who defeats the enemy, but the one who dares to stop his own. This is the kind of hero Nuka could have become if he had chosen not the path of strength, but the path of breaking with the past at the most decisive moment. This is the riskiest but most potent version of how the story unfolds. Because he demands something from Nuki that he hasn't gotten his whole life, an inner core. A moment of epiphany, when everything could have been changed. The final battle at Ancestor Rock is more than a conflict between two feelings of pride. It is the culmination of all mistakes, illusions, and legacies. Zira leads the exiles into battle, obsessed with revenge. Kovu is torn between loyalty and doubt, and Vitani is just about ready to go her own way. Where's Nuka supposed to be at this point? Canon says he's already gone. But if we imagine that he survived the third part of our hypothesis, he gets a choice. Join the mother and repeat Scar's tragedy, or stand across and try to stop it all. Realizing Zira's destructiveness, Zira is not just a leader. She is an ideology. She's not fighting for a better future. She's fighting to reclaim the past, and Nuka is the best at sensing how destructive this path is becoming. He'd seen Zira ignore him for the perfect Kovu. He'd tried to prove his worth, and nearly gotten himself killed. He could understand. It wasn't her family she cared about. It was her mission. And in this mission, no one survives. This realization may have been a breaking point. Imagine the scene. The outsiders are preparing for the decisive blow. Vitani begins to hesitate. Kovu is on the verge of open protest. And that's where Nuka comes in, not as a performer, but as someone who no longer wants to be a pawn. He stands between the sides, not with shouting, not with rage, but with a clear position. We will not become like them. We will not make the same mistake again. This is an actual leadership moment, not when you lead the fight, but when you stop it. The reaction of the outsiders. Here's the best part. The outsiders didn't follow Zira because they believed in her. They believed in the goal. But when the goal becomes an endless circle of destruction, and they are confronted by someone who offers an alternative, however fragile, they begin to doubt. And Nuka, who has survived rejection, battle, and epiphany, has a fantastic power of persuasion. He knows what it's like to be unwanted, so he offers everyone the opportunity to be heard. At this point, his inner strength makes him more than Zira's son. He becomes a leader. What will happen next? If Nuka had stopped the fight, the story would have a whole new twist. Zira could lose support and be left alone. Kovu and Vitani would move to the side of peace. Simba, seeing a reasonable opponent, could start negotiations. And in this new frame of reference, Nuka becomes the link. He doesn't get the crown. He doesn't live in luxury, but he is a figure of reconciliation, which may be the most challenging form of leadership, confrontation instead of submission. This choice is critical in the context of the Lion King mythology itself. In this universe, the central conflict is not between good and evil. It's between power for its own sake and power for the circle of life. The Scar was tearing the circle. Mufasa defended him. Simba restored it. And Nuka? He could have been the one who understood the price of balance from within a broken system. He was not part of the circle of life. He was thrown outside of it. But that was why his return to the circle would be 100 times more meaningful. A leader without the crown of Nuka could remain among the exiles but as a peacemaker. He could unite the remnants of pride with Prideland. He could be the voice of the unheard. And that's the fundamental transformation, from invisible to irreplaceable, from an object of pity to a figure of respect. Transition? But it's all hypothetical. In the canon, he remains a shadow. Unfulfilled, unappreciated, unloved. There was a chance, more than one, several. Nuka had everything he needed to be somebody. His age, he was born first. Motivation? He craved recognition, experience. He saw the struggle not from the top of a cliff but from exile. And even the character, underneath the layer of whining and jealousy, hid not an evil, but a complex character. But he never became king. Not because he wasn't good enough. It's because no one let him be anything more. Looking back at Nuki's story, it's clear. This is not the story of a villain, a rival, or even a buffoon. This is the story of a missed opportunity. The story of someone who was present for all the major events, but remained in the shadows. He wasn't elected. He wasn't accepted. He was not understood. And that's why his journey is so painfully honest. There's a Nuka like that in every collective. In every family and community, one becomes the favorite, and the other becomes later, not now. We say, he was not ready, he was weak, and it was his own fault. But rarely do we ask, who gave him the chance to be strong? Who tried to invest in him in the first place? Can Nuka be blamed for envy if he wasn't praised? Can we expect heroism from him if he was consistently ranked lower? Can we demand maturity from someone who has never been listened to seriously? Probably not. But that's not the point. The important thing is that he tried to the very end. He didn't fight for glory. He fought for the look in his mother's eyes. He didn't betray, he didn't quit, he didn't give up. He just didn't make it. And if somewhere, early on, he had been given a chance, maybe he wouldn't have become the new Scar. It wouldn't even be the new Simba. And he would be the first Nuka to be believed in. To be worthy is not to be chosen. But isn't that enough?